5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm Kasi. I have to win whichever way. That is how it has become because of sponsorship, because of money, because of everything. Whereas there, what people used to come on Saturday and say, I blew my crank. We had spare means, we'll say, take and go and fix it and write tomorrow. We used to give, like, telling, take and go. Like people, they used to look at somebody's exhaust and make an exhaust. They didn't know how to calculate. Not many people knew how to calculate. The top 5 or top 10 guys, no? Or top 5 guys, not even the top 10. The top 5 tuners in the country knew how to calculate to make a expansion chamber. The rest of the fellows just looked at that fellows and said, oh, this is so long, and they copied and made by dimension, no? With that kind of a thing, there was no focus initially because every street had a workshop, every street had a mechanic. Every mechanic had a bike which was racing in Sholavaram. Every workshop made a bike. Whether it ran, it didn't run, that was not the criteria. So this is how the story starts. In 1978, my dad, instead of getting me a car, the first option he had was to get me a brand new Luna from the showroom in Mount Road, Rajkamal Motors. And then that was in December. And in February, I caught a local mechanic who put one exhaust and one seat and a clip-on. And I raced it in Sholavaram the next year, in 79. That was the beginning of my racing. And so it was pretty interesting. And when you're young and hardly 14, 15 years old, you think that, you're going to fly through everything. And then suddenly you realize there are guys who are going all over you and, you're left way behind. So anyway, it is one hell of an experience because you're part of the circus. It's a very big circus, and being part of it, even to take part or to be even, for people to say this guy participated was a big thing those days, like Sholavaram, and people used to make so much noise about it. It was a good experience and exciting experience to take part in that event. Then what happened, since it was pretty disappointing on the Luna, and I felt I was better driving a car than a bike. So then the next year we took a car which was used at home, just got a fire extinguisher fixed, which was mandatory, and I don't think we needed seat belts for those days, if I'm not mistaken. It just needed a fire extinguisher and a master kill switch. I think those were the two things that were mandatory. So we took that car, and then we took part in the stock category, and then entered it in the A1A category for the Grand Prix because we wanted to take part in 2 events. So didn't want to miss out the chance of driving on the track. So we entered it in a higher category for the Grand Prix. So that was the second year of racing. The next year, I bought myself a ESD, and then, we fixed the reed valve on that bike, and then we raced it. And those days, we never knew, that we had to use high-octane fuel with oil in a particular ratio so that it doesn't seize. The bike was frightfully fast, but it never used to last more than 1.5 laps. So that is what was the problem in the year of 1980. In Sholavaram, there were a lot of people who used to come from out of town, especially from Bangalore, Pune, Bombay, Calcutta. A lot of participants used to come from Hyderabad. And it used to be like one big circus. It used to be like one thing, and everybody used to look forward to the Sholavaram races. The club used to put out circulars, and they used to send to all the affiliated clubs as early as October the previous year, telling that the races are going to be in the first and second week of February, which was fixed. So So everybody knew first Sunday and second Sunday. I mean, those days it was only one Sunday, and subsequently it became 2 Sundays. And everybody knew the first and second Sunday of February was Sholavaram, and nobody had any other program or nobody planned anything or anything like that. And the hardcore people who were serious racers or people who used to race in a serious fashion, the bikes used to be done, in fact, by November and December, all tried, tested, painted, polished, and parked. And, and they were doing the finer aspects of the bike to make it even better from December. It was so nice. People used to come, they used to meet each other, they used to share the problems. And, when guys used to come from out of town, and if they had some problem, they used to come to us, and we used to give. In fact, I have given away cranks for 350s on Saturday for guys who came from Calcutta and they blew their crank. So people who were passionate used to take part. Nobody used to take part to say that, I'm going to make money out of racing and all that. So people loved the sport. People helped each other. And even today when you meet people after maybe about 30 years or 35 years, still the warmth is there. Like, when you see people like Aspi or Abdul Samad. There were riders who used to come from Sri Lanka initially. Friki Khan, Raja Pereira, Jinnadasa, Zakadine. There were some of the guys who used to ride the imported motorcycles. And the sound of those bikes on the straight was really, really thrilling. Then subsequently, we had guys coming from Malaysia, and then from UK. And we had a very, very good riders who came, like Tony Head, who was riding for the Rotax team, 250 Rotax. So I had some lovely bikes which came to Sholavaram, especially that 1.1 km straight, the top speed on the straight, and the sound of the two-stroke engines on the straight, and the smell of the oil, the two-stroke oil, the 747. It used to be like perfume on the track, and everybody used to really get fascinated with the sound. That was the highlight of Sholavaram. The sound on the straight, you could feel the vibration on the stands when the bikes are going through, and that was an experience which people could never get later. At that period of time, there was nothing much to do. You never had television, you never had pubs, you never had too much of other entertainment. People were more, it was like a picnic. It was like how they say, like the Isle of Man or the big events. The biggest event of motorsport in the country was Sholavaram at that period of time, and it was being, the dates were fixed. The most amazing part of it was the dates were fixed to the first and second week of Feb. First week of Feb initially, then it became 2 weeks. So people used to plan their holiday. People used to plan to come. There was so much of advertising that was done. Every petrol bunk had a hoarding. Everywhere you could see the sound of race bikes right from December onwards. On the roads, they used to ride with those exhausts and all that. So that euphoria was there. After 8 o'clock, till you sleep, you could hear the screaming of those bikes going up and down the roads, like any road, like Punmalaya Road or Pantheon Road, or any road where you had a straight, the guys were blasting up and down. And Beach Road, especially, there were so many accidents that took place also because of that. So, and as the numbers grew, there was a year when they had qualifying for the Grand Prix. They said, we are only going to allow X number of bikes, and beyond that we are not going to allow. And it was so chaotic, and they went to, stab Pramod Kumar, who was manning the gate there, from the pits into the track. And in fact, they broke that barrier, and guys rode into the track telling, we are going to take part. And, it was so much of a crowd, and the grid was all the way almost till halfway down the main straight. I had so many bikes lying up. Those days, there was one book called Gordon Jennings, Two-Stroke Tuning by Gordon Jennings. That was like the Bible for two-stroke tuning. So everybody owned a copy of that, trying with trial and error and permutation, combination, and going one stage beyond till the stage we broke something, and then retracting ourselves. We came to they'll say the last stage of tune. You cannot tune it anymore. So almost everyone who tuned had a copy of that, or if not the copy initially, they had a photocopy of that. One guy buys the book and everybody makes a photocopy and keeps a copy to themselves. In the year 88, if I'm not mistaken, TVS got into motorsport in a serious manner. They ran a team headed by Arvind Pangonkar and Vinay Harne. Those days when I started racing, it was a lot easier to get into the sport because it was just not Sholavaram or the big event right away. You had a lot of these small club events, Sunday events, like a motor gymkhana where it tested your skill, or it was a little off-road event where you could do a little bit of dirt riding, and or it was a small club rally which was around 80 km or 90 km distance, run on a time speed distance format.